Bună ziua, sunt Rodica și astăzi vreau să vă arăt un tur în Oxford. Sper să vă bucurați de acest tur. Mergem cu cineva ca să ne arate tot. Trebuie să ținem ochii pe ea. E o fată drăguță, probabil că e studentă la Oxford.
E numit și turul universității.
Două ore trebuie să ne ținem după ea.
Da. Să zboare repede timpul.
Da. Sunt case frumoase, vechi, ei le întrețin. Unele sunt întreținute, altele nu. Asta cred că e viața universității. Acolo sunt informații, dacă ajungeți aici, așa le găsiți. Vă luați după ceva, vă uitați pe net. Sunt mai multe tururi astăzi.
Both are from Romania and we're filming for Romania people, so hopefully it will be live.
And none of that matters, guys, because we're in Oxford right now, and I personally believe it's better than all those cities, although I'm sure they're all wonderful. Now, before we get going with the actual walking around, guys, we need to start with a little bit of overall history. We always like to give a bit of a when I'm pointing out buildings, they're not just totally random, and you guys can kind of position them within the overall history of Oxford itself. But before I do any of that, I'll introduce myself. I am Susan, 20 years old, studying at Oxford, and I'm from London.
Și trebuie să ținem ochii la bicicliști. Tot asta ne spun.
Ghidul nostru este din Londra, dar îi place Oxford.
We have our patron saint of Oxford. She's a woman named St. Friedwide. She's a very beautiful woman. And a lot of us would know here, it's a hard life, guys, being a beautiful woman. She's got a lot of men running around after her all the time, and they're trying to get her hand in marriage. But St. Friedwide is a very religious woman. She says no. There's one royal suitor in particular who's really wants to have her. And he actually drives her away for 3 years. She runs away from Oxford to nearby towns and villages just to escape him. She's called back. Her father is dying. What's he dying of? A broken heart. He hasn't seen her in so long. My father will be rejoicing, but no, he's dying. So she comes back to Oxford. Is this footprints? Yes, it is. But this group is currently full. If you go over to the top of the shop, they should be able to help you.
We already booked.
Have you got a wristband?
No.
If you pop into the shop, they'll be able to help you.
Which one?
The one with like nothing on the outside, very helpfully. The one that's only blue. It's a terrible design. I really need to put footprints on the outside. But I'm working on getting it. So she comes back to Oxford, and the royal suitor hears that she's coming back. So he decides to invade as well. Westgate is now our big shopping mall, I guess you would say, our big shopping centre. If you want to go to Urban Outfitters, I'll direct you to Westgate. Back in the day, it was a gate into the city. She's prayed to God. She says, please hold the tent. I know it's bad, but get her back. So when he passes through the Westgate, it's actually behind him. He realises the error, he prays for forgiveness, they all live happily ever after. They all make amends. She creates a Friedwide Priory. Builds this big priory as a safe place to work. Now, jump to 100 years later. Things are getting pretty contentious with the Danes at this point. The English, Danish, they're raiding Oxford a lot. So in 911 AD, we built our first city. Jump forward around another 100 years. We have a beautiful, friendly day in the history of Oxford called St. Brice's Day Massacre. It happened in and what happened was, I mentioned the Danish raid to Rome about 100 years prior. Our king at the time, he's a king called King Ethelred the Unready. Terrible start if your country's being led by a man with the nickname Unready, right? And he's very stressed about his danger. So he makes a law that anyone of English descent can murder anyone who doesn't man, child, extremely aggressive. Understandably, the Danish people, right? So what do? They all run inside to Friday. taking the protection of Oxford's patron saint. Some hooligan runs along and threatens to kill all of us. We shouldn't all run into the varsity shop. It makes the target pretty small. Because what did the English people do? They burned the whole priory down. So this was a day of mass casualty, hence the name of the massacre. But it was also a very bad day for the English people, because there was one very important person in the priory, and that was Gunhild. She was the sister of Thane, King of Denmark. So this really kicks off war between our two countries. So 7 years later, 1009, he sails from London to Oxford on the Thames, and he burns the whole city down. 4 years later, he's driven out King Ethelred. King Ethelred is gone. He was a bad king. 2 years later, King Thane is dead as well. So by 1015, we just want some peace in Oxford. You know, there's been a lot of turnaround. So the two sons of the two kings, they shake hands. Probably not like that. Probably more like that. They shake hands. The son of King Thane, he's a guy called son of Ethelred.
No? Let's go back. Go that way, and then can we go this way?
Deci, după introducere de rigoare,
You know how south it is in England? So there's a lot of land in Thames, and his noblemen land along the Thames.
introducere de rigoare, ghida noastră ne cunoscut de istoria orașului Oxford,
la un moment dat,
un oraș
Edmund care a dat foarte mult nobelor englezi.
situat
Hide in King Edward's palace. You guys don't know what a cesspit is? It's an old-fashioned word for
la
it.
confluența Tamisei cu Celor,
He was in there with a dagger. King Edmund came in to do
se
his
află
thing.
la
You know.
84 de
He sat
kilometri
down,
nord-vest
and
de
the sun
Londra.
looked up, recognized him from that angle. I don't really want to think
Sunt
about
de aproape
how.
de
He
Stratford
did.
upon Avon,
Looked up,
orașul
recognized
cu
him, had the dagger,
data la lui
plunged it into
Shakespeare.
King Edmund and killed him in probably the most undignified way.
Bineînțeles, precum știți, în Oxford este situată Universitatea Oxford, una dintre cele mai prestigioase universități din întreaga lume. Orașul este menționat documentar în anul 912 și se pare că s-a dezvoltat în jurul universității.
There's no animosity between us now. You know, no one's going to run along and kill me for giving this tour and studying here. But back in the day, things were quite
Dar
contentious. And this day, there was
data
a very big
exactă
fight.
a
It
înființării
wasn't
se
the first,
cunoaște.
it was the biggest. And what happened was, lots of townspeople
După
were drinking in a pub called St. Swindlestock Tavern. It's just a great name for a pub. It's
anul
now where
1996
Santander is,
deja
to exchange some money or something.
este
St. Swindlestock Tavern. But the students were drinking and they were
cunoscută o
insulting the
anumită existență a învățământului în Oxford. După anul 1967, serie de profesori foarte cunoscuți au venit de la Universitatea din Paris să predea
Un incident a fost explicat
și în acel moment
a fost făcutul.
este marcat începutul afirmării Universității Oxford pe plan mondial. Nimeni nu se explică de ce prima universitate s-a înființat în Oxford, dar asta s-a întâmplat. Putem spune că locuitorii orașului au fost prea încântați de venirea acestor profesori și de înființarea universității.
Intersectă între două râuri,
Da,
cel
spune
mare,
că
Tamisa și cel
au fost
celor.
She had three very important figures burnt at the stake. These figures were Thomas Cranmer, Bishop Ridley, and Bishop Latimer. And these three figures
Au
have played a
fost
very important
tensiuni
role
între cadre universitare
under the
și
rain.
locuitorii orașului,
And if you were to walk 20 meters down
care a
that
culminat
road,
cu
you cross into this road. And it's
acuzarea
only
una dintre
for
studenți de moartea
never
unei
allowed to
femei.
pave over it, even during
Acest
building
lucru a
work.
trebuit să fugă
And that
din
is
oraș,
where in 1556,
iar localnicii,
Thomas
ca să se răzbune, au spânzurat toți poliții de cap.
He had him burnt at the stake there. This is why we like to start
În același an,
to give you a sense of the
1209,
fun, happy history of Oxford.
posibil datorită acestui fapt și a
Made our capital of England. King Charles I, he was our king at the time. He was
tensiune
fighting
din
sick. He wanted to separate from his
dintre
followers. So he brought his followers here. I'll
Viitor
show
și
you the exact place he brought them later. And he
cei
operated
de la universitate. O parte dintre profesori au părăsit Oxfordul și au înființat
the overall
noua universitate la
1840.
Cambridge.
Did anyone get here on the train?
Ceilalți au continuat
The train, beautiful.
Is it?
Yes. How was the journey?
până când
No, terrible, terrible railway.
Papa Inocenț al III-lea
London and Oxford.
i-a dat un sprijin
Că vremea
și
este bună,
lăsau mai relaxați
oamenii au ieșit la plimbare,
universitatea
așa cum fac de
din
obicei.
oraș.
There you go.
Dar eu sper să...
Calea ferată de la Londra la Oxford a fost
O zi foarte frumoasă de duminică, de altfel.
Hopping to London for a decadent club night out. Obviously does happen.
Lume
aproape de rece.
multă ieșită
They
la
were also scared that horrible people like you were going to come to Oxford, drag me out of the library and make me
ceea ce vedeți împrejur.
also does happen.
O să
It's
mai
great
vedem
for
în
me.
continuare. Sunt
I'm very happy. Great.
foarte frumoase
Last
A
day I
început să se
mentioned,
dezvolte mult mai mult.
anyone of
monumente și clădiri care aparțin
sporty bunch we've got here, guys.
Mult mai
Besides
mult
walking
majoritatea
around.
colegilor.
In 1954, he was a medicine studied here, and he ran the first mile in under 4 minutes.
Din păcate, nu toate sunt
More
deschise
importantly, if we rode
vizitării
for a very,
public.
very gym, it's about 5 minutes that way, university gym. It's a big day in the city of Oxford.
Oxford are o expoziție neconvențională care prezintă cei 800 de ani de existență. Se cheamă
That's when I got
The
accepted
Oxford
to come
Story.
here, study English at Brasenose College, which isn't on the tour, but I will point out because I think it's the most beautiful one.
Cei care vizitează această expoziție se pot așeza chiar pe băncile de la Universitatea înființată de
Dar ghidul nostru este chiar studentă. 2020.
Ai văzut cum am zis la început că e posibil să fie studentă, că altfel nu știe toate astea.
Da.
Chiar dacă e din Londra. A venit la Oxford pentru că Oxford-ul este una dintre cele mai bune universități din Anglia.
Să mergem la primul.
Da. Bravo. Pleca, să vedem. Următoarea oprire va fi Merton College, cel mai vechi colegiu Oxford, înființat în anul 1264.
Lovely weather, isn't it?
Yes.
Aici,
Okay, everyone.
frumoasă
Welcome to Balliol.
vreme.
This one right behind me.
Sounds
Actually
like-
reckoned as one of Oxford's uglier colleges.
În
Hopefully this
partea
tells you something about how beautiful
stângă.
our city is.
Wow.
Now,
Let's
if you
go
guys don't know how the college system works, I'll explain a little bit later when we go inside the Magdalen. But essentially, every time a student applies, 90% of them do so with a preference to a college. You can make a
Corect, una dintre cele mai
open
multe
application, which
clădiri.
means you don't really care which college you go to. And some people think that gives them a better shot of getting into college in general. So there's
Ghidul
no
spune că e considerat una dintre cele mai
and a lot of
multe.
people do like to apply with a preference to a college because I think they can major
Asta a
in
fost în
some
1263.
colleges are big, some are small, some are in the centre, some are a bit further out, some are kind of more liberal or more, like a bit more fun generally, some are more
colegiu care putem să-l
Merton,
vedem.
which is our most academic
Este
college, is known as the college where
Dulles
fun goes
College.
to die. So if you're here for a
Clădire
degree or you're here for a good time,
impresionantă
that
cu
can all
solar.
inform the decision on which college you People also care a lot about
Divinity School,
because you know,
clădire din
we're the oldest
secolul al
university in the English
15, realizată
I'll bring that
în
up a lot.
majoritatea
It's a flex.
de
It's
clădiri
like,
în stil
like
gotic.
to brag about. But that means
Trinity
depending on your
College,
so
la
how old
fel,
your college is. That can
posibil
also
să vedem
infer a
pe
lot of
departe.
Balliol
Mai
has a
putea
claim to be one of the
vedea
oldest
muzeul
colleges. I say
național,
claim, on paper it is the oldest.
care este înființat în 1683, Teatrul Sheldonian, construit
Balliol was founded in 1263, founded by a man named John Radcliffe, who just named it after himself. So it's not very
Observatorul
creative. And the
astronomic,
story goes, he nicked
grădina
the land from the
botanică,
bishop who lived next door. The bishop of
catedrala
Durham used to live
colegiului
next door.
Christ
John de Balliol
Church,
just wanted some land for himself, so he grabbed it. The bishop found
care a
out, he
fost
was very
construită
angry,
în
and John de Balliol said, look, I'm so
1970,
sorry,
intr-o
I'm going to found a college, and I'll take
1970,
people in and I'll teach them theology,
a
and
fost
then they'll come and
completată în
work.
1225.
Everyone used to be taught theology in Oxford.
Undeva
Only in the
construcția
last 20
adiacente.
years have we turned to more modern academics, like the sciences.
Mai putem să mai vedem
Circulă
capela
foarte mult
Merton,
bicicletele.
capela colegiului Magdalen, colegiului
And then they became purely like fleshed out colleges where people live.
centrul orașului, partea de
Colleges are also known for being good at different sports. Balliol has a very odd claim at being the best at probably our weirdest sport. Because a lot of colleges are so old, they like to have a pet, right? And there'd be a lot of turnover if you had like a cat or
Biblioteca
something.
Radcliffe.
So a lot of colleges have a pet tortoise because you know they're going to stay with the college for a long time.
Lângă ea
It's less kind
este
of student tragedy
turnul
when the pet
bisericii
dies. So around 20
Sfintei Maria Fecioara, de unde se poate vedea
every
panorama
single June, so
orașului.
pretty soon now, every college with a tortoise takes their tortoise to Trinity College. It's about 5 minutes that way. And they put their tortoise in the middle of a cardboard ring,
nicio clădire
get the lettuce
construită în
dotted
Oxford
around it. And then they say go, and the first tortoise to eat a bit of lettuce wins. Balliol owned a tortoise called Rosa,
Într-un acest tur o să mai vedem și librăria Bodleain,
She lived here for 43 years.
una dintre puține biblioteci care are privilegiul obținerei unui exemplar fie carte publicată pe teritoriul Marii Britanii.
No one knows whether she was stolen or whether she ran away. People think students from the college next door, Trinity College, founded upon the old Bishop of Durham site, may have stolen her and revenge land, but nobody knows really. But since then, every single year a Balliol student puts on a tortoise costume and waddles all the way down to Corpus Christi. It's a short walk, but I imagine it feels a lot longer when you're wearing that. And they are presented with a whole bucket of lettuce, and they must eat that in the time it takes one tortoise to eat one tiny bit. And they call this student Comrade Tortoise. And in the 20 years since Rose has been gone, students have managed to win 3 times. It's bad and very good for your diet, I might imagine. So if you're looking to get your lettuce to take up, you might want to apply to Balliol College. That could be a reason that would be good. Alright, we're going to pop down the road and I'll tell you a little bit about Trinity College.
Rivalitatea dintre colegii. Mergem mai departe.
Bine că am pornit, că nu mai stăm aici.
Alright guys, I always like to do a quick pit stop at Trinity College because it's home to my favourite ever story in Oxford. Every college has a chapel.
Este intrarea la Trinity College, are unul dintre cele mai vechi colegii din Anglia.
Bar, most importantly, it's also where you can get a job in college, and a chapel. And it's a little known fact that every student can get married in their chapel. It's very subsidised. And it's a lovely community. You go back to your college and one it's great. It can also be a very big logistical thing. When I first moved in as a fresher, I was a wedding.
Au o capelă frumoasă unde mirii vin și își unesc destinele în capelă. Ceva foarte frumos și apreciat de toată lumea.
Așa găsit să stea pe acoperiș, dezbrăcat în celor.
So in 2022, a lot of people came out to watch the and 2 years later, they're still together. So I always pop by Trinity College, struggling to find that connection. Just,
Descrie 10 zone, nu se merge sau se plătește taxă pentru mașină.
Da. Zona în liberă de noapte, ca în Londra, este și în centrul
Da.
și în centrul Birmingham.
Au găsit, au făcut găselnițe ca să scoată bani de pe oameni.
Ia bani de la oameni. Cu toate că s-a demonstrat că în centrul Londrei faptul că nu se mai circulă n-a făcut să scadă sau să crească numărul de îmbolnăviri în rândul populației. Așa că poate este de fapt doresc taxarea șoferilor.
it's beautiful.
Da.
Vedi?
Este parte a colegii. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
This museum was built about public universities. And essentially this kind of changed
Foarte
the format of how
frumos.
museums worked.
Este un muzeu de
Before that you always had to pay to go in. It was quite exclusive to the rich and educated. This was the first museum that kind of
Istorie și
changed the
știință.
format. And I always like to mention it because it's home to Oxford's coolest exhibition, I think.
în 1924.
That's a relief. Genuinely, yesterday, no one. I was like, wow, that's amazing. Albert Einstein in 1931, he was in Oxford and he was giving a lecture at Rhodes House, which is about 5 minutes that way. And he was explaining his theory of relativity, all about E equals mc squared, nonsense. I do English, it goes completely over my head. And the people in the lecture hall were watching it. He's on to something. Really? He grabbed the blackboard and he was writing. Now it's a museum dedicated to all the exhibits that was used to teach science. So they brought it here. The people at the museum were like, great, yeah, this could be big one day. So they stored it in the basement. Then a couple of weeks later, a cleaner was going through all the new exhibitions. She was wandering around with her spray and her wipe. She came across the blackboard and she thought, what is this rubbish? And she started spraying it down. She wiped away one of his famous equations before all the staff rushed in and were like, oh goodness, no, this is terrible. So now it's all beautifully preserved behind a big pane of glass and you can't touch the blackboard. It is beautifully labelled as well. But apparently he made a mistake. Yeah. He forgot to carry the text. You guys know what this means? I have no idea. All I remember is carry the text, very small letter somewhere. That's all I know. But he forgot to carry the text. So if you fancy yourself maths, you're free to go upstairs, turn right, go downstairs, and you can solve Einstein's mistake. It's a pretty cool thing to be able to say you've done. And if you turn around, guys, I'm going to talk to you about this bookshop.
Ah,
Și a șters una dintre cele mai importante.
We mentioned Blackwell's bookshop because it's always the favourite bookshop of any university student. It's a bit of a celebrity haunt. It's said that Tolkien wrote a lot of Lord of the Rings here. Emma Watson is a bit of a fan. Florence Pugh is also a regular. So if you want to go celebrity spotting, that would be my recommendation. Also, if anyone's seen Inspector Morse, there's a lot of filming done in the White Horse pub that separates them. So there you go. That brings me on to my next point. As you can see, the bookshop is split by the pub and two sides of the shop are linked by a massive underground room. It's called the Norrington Room. And we mention it because it's the biggest single-room bookshop in Europe. It's got 3 miles of shelf space going all the way around the shop. It's a really wonderful room. It's named after Arthur Norrington. He studied at Trinity. He's also responsible for a big academic table. It ranks all of the colleges. So the students who do best in their final exams, they can shoot their college up to the top of the Norrington table because they kind of inform its overall grade, so how smart it is. So I mentioned that Merton was our most academic college. Merton is at the top of the Norrington table. So a lot of people look at this table and think, wow, I'm going to apply to Merton, great. I myself set my sights a lot lower, scrolled all the way down to the bottom of the Norrington table, and I saw Brasenose sat in pride of place at number 31. So I thought, oh, they're a bit less academic. Maybe they'll be happy to have me, and it worked. So I would recommend if you're applying to Oxford, just go down to the bottom of the table. It works for me. Now we're going to pop into the Western Library, guys.
Într-o încăpere din această locație este o masă la care au stat foarte multe personalități și încă se folosește când intri să stai la ea și să bei o cafea sau ceva de genul ăsta. Și povestea că lumea vine și îmi place să stea acolo în mijlocul mesei sau la capătul mesei, dându-și importanță, dar ar trebui să fie un pic mai mic. Acțiuni specific.
da, acțiuni specifice. don't know.
Teraz o scăpăm.
Good job, guys. That was a lot of people. You navigated it beautifully. Okay, we're going to pop inside the library, guys.
Ce clădiri frumoase, vechi, cu arhitectură. Toate. Și sunt îngrijite.
Biblioteca Nici mai spune că e ceva vechi și antic.
Da. Da.
Every other library comes under the jurisdiction of the Bodleain Library. It's basically a whole complex. I'll tell you a little bit more about how later. The Bodleain complex has access to an insane amount of books, around 12 million. So the university were in a bit of a crisis. They were like, where are we going to store all of these books? So in 1940, the solution to that was to build a and this is not a working library. Basic function. As you can see, a lot of them are held above ground. Most of them are actually held underground. There's a massive tunnel that links this library to the library of the old Bodleain Library. It's a pretty old conveyor belt to carry the books back and forth. I think they can walk, to be honest. It's not that far, so they built a very good that's not what it looks like. Someone asked me if that was actually what it looks like. That's what I imagine it to look like. This library used to be seen as having pretty bad luck. He had a big key, turned it in the lock so the door. He actually splintered in half. This library was seen as having pretty bad juju. I like to think all of that bad juju went away because a couple of weeks ago, this is where I had my own celebrity encounter with Miss Emma Watson. We had a lovely chat. She's very humble. I petted her dog. She's just like us. So if you linger around the Western Library, guys, she might come back. This is also where we give you guys a 5-minute break. I have to pop over and buy your tickets to enter the divinity schools a little bit later. If you need the toilet, if you just want to sit down before I make you walk around for another hour and a half, feel free to take that 5 minutes and we'll meet back here at around some time. In 5 minutes. 2:35, meet back here. See you soon. 2:30.
Pauză 5 minute. Ne vom întâlni aici, peste 5 minute. Trebuie să menționăm că este o bibliotecă, dacă vreți să vedeți acolo în roșu, Bodleain, bibliotecă, are privilegiul de a avea cât un exemplar de fiecare carte tipărită în Oxford. Singura bibliotecă Sala Harry.
Alright, love you. Stay in touch, love. Yeah, I will do.
Ah, mașină veche, foarte veche.
I really thought there'd be loads of like really weird right-wing customers, you know, just suddenly doing that.
Oh, yeah.
Totodată trebuie să fim atenți și la biciclete.
O vezi?
Making us get more steps.
I do this thing.
Să se meargă sempre de nou. Nu mai stăm.
Nhưng mà cái cổng này là cái cổng
You only?
Am ales turul acesta pe jos ca să putem vedea mai bine străzile, clădirile, arhitectura, Oxford-ul, frumoasă, colecții,
Podul Suspinelor.
Puntea Suspinelor, da? Și acum am spus peste tot că sunt biciclete, copiii de mici învață să mergă cu bicicleta și de la școală învață pe unde să meargă, cum să meargă. Biblioteca Bodleain. Da,
Aș putea spune că numai la Castelul Pele și-am mai văzut așa. A fost arhitectură. Stilul gotic.
cine este? Celor. Bănuiesc că e Bodleain.
Poate spune cine este și
Doesn't change anything. Okay, so I just popped off to buy you tickets to the now because the Vintage Schools are. It's a pretty terrifying place.
Prima biblioteca universității a fost înființată în jumătatea din 1320 și era duminica mere a universității, bisericii Minte Fecioare Maria și în 1489 ducele Humphrey a donat ducele de Gloucester a donat 281 de manuscrise foarte rare aceste universități. în față, ceea ce vedem în această statuie este de fapt nu a
În 100 de ani era nu tocmai un loc foarte prietenesc, nu știu.
această minunată bibliotecă, ci este primul.
Aici, în interiorul bibliotecii, a fost filmat
Primul conducător.
Harry Potter aici.
Conducător al Bibliotecii Bodleain.
Oh.
Cum a luat nașterea acestei bibliotecă este că fosta bibliotecă, au fostele cărți care se aflau în bibliotecă, au fost în 1550, au fost arse de către bisericii gasim,
Mergem să stăm într-o bancă.
apărătoare de învățătura catolică
Am stat și Harry Potter.
de radice și atunci Thomas Bodley a utilizat această clădire în care au început să adune toată clădire care au început să adune cărți pentru nouă bibliotecă. A donat și el multe cărți, peste 2500 de cărți, și acum biblioteca are foarte multe cărți, peste 13 milioane. Aici suntem în această încăpere minunată, este Sputnik. Suntem, cum am spus, un loc unde se întâlneau studenții și profesorii, în care a fost filmate câteva secvențe din Harry Potter. Foarte să fie pe cultură. Am dat bibliotecii peste 8.000 de cărți care a început.
Așteptăm Liga să vină.
These books are so precious, they used to be chained to the wall. Now we're a bit more modern, so when I sat down for my first study session on my first day in Oxford, I pulled out one of these books, massive alarm came on, the librarian sprinted down the aisle, pulled me out of my seat. It was very embarrassing. But this library goes back to 1435, so a lot of the books in there are very precious. They're not to be looked at, they're just to be preserved. And this library was how we really started as an academic institution. There was a Duke, Humphrey, Duke of Gloucester. He was a very educated, very rich man. He dedicated his own supply of books. Scholars at Oxford would have just been studying the theology in these books. And it was all Catholic, of course, because that was our religion. But when Henry VIII comes to the throne, everything changes. The scholars suddenly get very stressed because it's illegal to be studying this all of a sudden. It's heresy. So their solution is to take all of the books to the middle of the square and create a massive bonfire, to burn all of the books, leaving behind only three. 3 books for around 50 years these scholars were sharing between them. Nowadays, this would be a wonderful excuse as to why I haven't done my reading. But now I have 12 million books to borrow, so that's great. But things were actually going very badly for this period of time. We don't like to admit it because we are such a famed university and such a historical one. We were very nearly at the point of collapse at this point. Until one man stepped in and was like, Oxford, I'm going to save you. And this man was, like the Duke who started off the university, he was very rich, very wealthy, and very educated. He gave us this collection of books to kind of kickstart things again. That was in 1602. He also gave us a massive amount of money. So as you can see, the original walls, you can tell these new ones, those built up later, have tacked on, and they're 3 floors each. That's how you can tell they're a little bit older. It was in 1610 when it really started to grow them. Thomas Bodleain went to London, he went to the Stationers' Company. And the Stationers' Company has the power to grant any library the status of a copyright. We have 3 in the UK, they're in Cambridge, Oxford and London. And what that means is, every time the English press publishes a book, we have access to it. We're allowed to request it. So that's how we have 12 million books. It's not a lending library, Bodleain, as I learned when I tried to lend myself a book. So loads of politicians and authors give us their works to hold on. We have Shakespeare's first ever folio here, we have the original copy of Willows, loads of historical books, and we have access to all the money they made, which is how we stay financially viable. If you remember, I told you the Norrington Room has 3 miles of shelf space, the room that connects the bookshop. You take all of the shelf space across the whole of the library, it's under the Bodleian complex. We have 102 sentences from Sala Harry Potter.
Un collège, puis il va vivre là tout l'été avec son ami, mais c'est un peu genre une relation un peu puis là, le gars qui se fait inviter commence à faire de la merde dans la famille, puis on découvre que finalement, que finalement, il est du tout. C'était n'importe quoi. C'était un peu n'importe quoi. L'autre, il meurt noyant dans l'aviron. C'est vraiment dégueulasse. Il liche le pain. Et ensuite, il fait comme ça, ça a vraiment buzzé.
Au venit cu cortul, s-au așezat. Clădiri foarte vechi, frumoasă arhitectură. Aici se poate mânca. She's here. Da. statui pe acoperiș. Din fericire ăștia sunt îmbrăcați.
Afară de acest tur turistic pe jos se poate face și după cum se vede turismul.
And then the focus rolled out to like.
Se dă o proiect de jos și se pune banda. Iată la ce se spune. Aici sunt puțin de străzuri mai inspirate. Alte comentarii, informații. Nu cred că sunt spuse la de bandă.
Magazine.
Yeah, Thursday.
Look. High Street Cafe. Da. Taxi specific.
want to tuck in just so people can get past. If you guys just wait here, I'll be back in 2 minutes with your tickets, and then we'll get to go in. You guys just tuck in here. I'll be back soon. I'm not leaving yet. Bye tickets.
C'est le HMS, il y a une personne.
Noi așteptăm biletele.